everybody. Hello, Pastor Norman.
Well, hey there, Mom. How you doing?
I'm good. Hope you're doing well today. Are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well.
Good, good. All right. Is it hot sorry, to say California? Lord have mercy. Is it hot in South Carolina?
Very hot.
A
Very, very hot.
little bit warm here in the North Carolina too.
It's getting unbearable. The humidity is very bad.
Yes, it is. It is. But thank God for air conditioning.
Well, my hadn't cut off yet all day.
Yeah, yeah. I remember growing up without it. Oh my goodness, I don't know how we stood it. Mm. I remember my grandparents they had a farm. So hot days like this, all they could do was sit on the porch and fan and eat a watermelon or something like that.
I
That
was
was it.
gonna say watermelon.
That's it. That's all they could do. Get a fan, and it wasn't an electric fan either. It was a
No.
hand fan. It was a hand fan,
Mhm.
and a towel. And that was it. That's how they made it through.
I don't know how they did it and how we did it as children. we
Yeah, 'cause
stayed, we
I
stayed
remember going
outside
to
all day.
Yeah, because I remember going to school with no air conditioning. We'd
Hmm.
sit there in the classroom all day long. And yeah, anyway, we were tough then. We're not tough now.
We
We
spoiled.
are definitely not tough now. Let me see who's here. There's my sister, my brother-in-law. And you coughing. You sound like you got the
Oh
croup.
no, that something just went down my throat. I'm good.
Look, I'm not crashing on you because there's a bunch of people that's having that right now.
No,
Bunch
I'm
of people
good.
doing that. Hey, Didi, and we got your call Sunday. I'm sorry we didn't respond, sweetheart. I did get your call. Happy Father's Day. And there's Kim. Kim, we got the call. We got all the calls and things. We just didn't respond right away. Had a lot going on. Russell came home from the hospital on Sunday, and so
Wow.
he's home, thank God, and doing better. So yeah, it was a crazy week last week, but we made it through. I made it over.
Yes, I'm glad. I had a
You got
crazy
any? You
month.
got any trips coming up?
Do I have any trips coming up?
Hmm.
Actually, I do. Uh, July and August.
Okay.
Hmm.
Where are you going?
Georgia, and then to two trips to Jacksonville, Florida in August.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. I have a conference that Gwen and I are actually doing two separate workshops. Um, I'm doing a workshop on intercessory prayer. She's doing
Mm-hmm.
a workshop on entitled "When Women Pray." Um, that's the first week of August. Then 2 weeks after that, we're back in Jacksonville for the couple that's actually having the conference. Their
Mm-hmm.
son is getting married, so we'll be there for that. In Georgia, that's where we'll be heading to connect with the church that is coming up under our umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah, so and there's
Sounds
some
like
other things I got going on as well. So,
yeah, you're gonna be busy. It sounds like a little bit.
huh?
Um, were you able to hear us? Were you able to see the video that I played on Sunday with Rupert Spira?
On last night,
On Sunday. Sunday.
Sunday, I did see that. Yes.
Okay. You remember? Do you remember what it was about? It was about God's communication with us
Hmm.
and prayer. Um, we were talking about how that a lot of people at certain stages when they come into this oneness understanding, they have a little bit of perplexity trying to figure out how to relate to God now. Yeah, so we were talking about that. What did you think about that, Pastor Norman? Were you
Well, it the reason why I smiled the way I did is because of what happened actually at our service that afternoon. I kind of made reference to Numbers chapter 12. Actually, I was supposed to be preaching a Father's Day message.
mhm,
That's what supposed to be. um, the love of our Father. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but that didn't happen from a small conversation that we was having before service actually got started. It just went from there, and we just flowed. And so, really, no topic, but we got pretty much revealing oneness. I would have to say the whole thing would have to fall under oneness, but I did uh, a demonstration concerning how God said that how he communicated with Moses. I went to Numbers chapter 12,
Mm-hmm.
and how, of course, we know the story. Miriam, she was upset because Moses had married the Ethiopian woman. She poured Aaron into it. She had this attitude that Moses is not the only one that heard from God, or God, he ain't the only one that God has used. And so, of course, according to the text, the Lord heard it, and he called a meeting. He came down in the cloud. He called a meeting with Miriam, Aaron, and Moses, who was minding his own business. And the statement was made. He said, if there was a prophet among you, I will speak to him or reveal or make myself known to him by way of visions, way of
Mm-hmm.
dreams.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about dark speeches. But the thing that caught everybody was when I made this statement, he said, because I was telling everybody the church has been erroneously saying that Moses was a prophet, and the Bible does not describe him as a prophet. Matter of fact, God said with Moses, not so. When I speak to Moses, I speak to him mouth to mouth. Some translations say face to face. And so that's when I had my wife come up, and I began to do the demonstration with us being very close. And I was talking about when Moses had asked the Lord earlier in his ministry. Uh, he said, "Lord, please show me your face." And he said, "No man can see my face and live." And I
Mm-hmm.
was explaining to them what he was saying was actually no man can operate in dualism or separatism. He would have to give up his natural carnal identity,
Mm-hmm.
and actually you will be seeing the actual reflection of God, which is God as you. And
Yeah.
so with the carnal mind, that is something hard to handle. Matter of fact, there was a movie, a Star Trek movie, The Wrath of Khan, when he was on a journey searching for God. He was
Yeah.
going all these planets searching for God. And when he got to this place where he thought he discovered God, he was speaking unto the orb. And when he said, "Show me your face," he showed Khan's face, the exact
Mm-hmm.
reflection. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was doing that demonstration, and I was showing him how God said Moses, because in Exodus 4:7, God said to Moses, "You will be God unto Pharaoh."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's what we hear. I was explaining again. Like I said, it wasn't nothing planned. It was just a flow of revelation and insight concerning the Mount of Transfiguration. Why was it's only Moses and Elijah that showed up on the Mount of Transfiguration with Jesus? And I began to explain their representation. God, again, with mention concerning Moses being God. And then with Elijah, Elijah actually spoke as God when he made reference to Ahab and said that it's not going to rain until I say so. So he never said until unless the Lord said or
Yeah.
whatever. So we find that again in James chapter 5 in reference to the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man. The latter part of that chapter 5 says that Elias, which is Elijah, had a nature. He was a man and he had a nature just like ours.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
when he prayed, he said one time it's not going to rain. It did not rain for 3 years and 6 months. Then he prayed again, which I like to use the word declare. He declared again, and the heavens opened up, and the heavens gave forth rain, and then the earth yield forth its fruit. And so I was talking about how we now, why creation is travailing, waiting for the manifestations of the sons of God. I dealt with a lot with the character of God, the essence of God, us being the express image of Him in the earth, making reference to Psalms 82. So there was a lot that I shared, but it was so I can't put words to. People were just like, OMG.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all right there. It's all right there in scripture. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. And I liked what Rupert said on Sunday in that video. The one thing that really stood out to me was how he said that the divine God as divine intelligence, and we always call God love, say God is love, but when we think of God as divine intelligence, and also God as Father, because the word Father doesn't mean male, it means source. And so God is the origin of everything, the progenitor of every spirit, everything that ever existed. So he is the source, therefore the Father. And the Bible tells us he's the Father of spirits. So if that's the case, whether it be a good spirit or a bad spirit, he's the Father of it. So that means that there are derivatives of God, which are spirit, that have gone in the darkness direction. And then there are derivatives of God that is spirit that have gone in that direction of light. So we tend to think that those things were created apart from God, but they were not.
Nope.
And I like what Rupert said when he said that divine intelligence makes concession for the little me, the little egoic self that we believe ourselves to be, by shrinking itself down into the finite mind, to console and to provide wisdom, to intervene in different situations for us. So it's not like God is trying to get us to not be that little self. And oftentimes we try not to, we're trying hard to just be out, let go of the ego. We're trying hard to find ourselves as spiritually advanced so that we don't see ourselves, we're not acting out of that particular mode. But then God is not trying to remove us from that. He's actually making concessions for it. So it tells me that we can drop the urge or the what's the word I'm looking for? Obsession about trying to arrive. Excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat.
Now.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
There was talking about what you were mentioning on Sunday. If I can get this tickle out of my throat, I can talk. There was a gentleman by the name of Greg Braden. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Greg Braden. He's done a lot of scientific spiritual investigations into the mode and methodology that oneness requires, the mode and methodology of the Christ in prayer. And so he was talking about, he gave an example of, he was visiting an Indian tribe, and it was in a place where there was a drought. It had been a drought for a very, very long time, and people were really needing some rain. So the Indians began to pray. And in our minds, when we think of prayer, we think of petitioning and asking God for come and help and let it rain and all that. But based on his discoveries and his investigation, prayer originally wasn't like that.
Exactly.
But prayer was, when he went with the Indian, there was this Indian that went with him to pray. They had to go to a certain sacred spot to do it. And when he did, he expected to hear words. He expected to hear a petition, a supplication, but it wasn't any. The Indian simply went there. He walked around, closed his eyes, and I may be changing this a little bit because I don't remember all the details, but he walked around, closed his eyes, felt the dirt, and got up and left. And Greg Braden asked him, well, when did you pray? He said, oh, I already prayed. And he said, I didn't see you pray. He said, oh yeah, I prayed. He said, well, how did you pray? He said, I didn't hear you ask anything, or you didn't say anything verbally or anything like that. You made no chants. You didn't do any of that. He said, well, I smelled the rain. I remember what the rain smelled like when it hit the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered what he said. I remembered what it felt like when the water hit my body.
Mm-hmm.
That was his prayer. He said, I experienced it before I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow, that was really, really good. So it wasn't, and he wasn't using his imagination in the sense of trying to conjure it up. He was simply using his memory of what it felt like and what it smelled like, and allowing it to be in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his form of prayer. And it was, I don't know how long it was. It was maybe a day or so, and it just came a downpour.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it poured so hard that it flooded. And Braden asked him, said, well, how are you going to stop it? He said, I don't know, because I never figured that one out yet. I hadn't figured that out yet. But it was pouring down so much that it was flooding. That's how he prayed for rain.
So he remembered, or he reflected back on his prior encounter and experience with rain. So
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
you just confirm what I shared with the church on Sunday. One of the translations of Romans 8, I use 18 and 19, but verse 19, where it talks about creation is waiting, travailing, waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. One translation said that creation is waiting for its deliverance. And so I was explaining to them how we are actually connected to not just the earth, but to the universe. We are connected. And so when it's talking about right now, if we say right now, a lot of what's happening, the unusual weather, all of the different things that seem to be chaotic within in the world. Again, in Psalms 82, it says everything is out of course because his children, who he called gods, are walking around in darkness. They're unaware. They know nothing. They understand nothing. And that's the part of the awakening that we need to come to. So again, everything is out of course. Everything is not operating the way it should operate because creation as a whole, creature is looking once again for the one that created it.
Yes.
And that is what's happening. We was placed here to be God, to have dominion, to have total authority, to be the carekeepers of what he has created. And we have not done that.
Yeah, we've done a very poor job of it. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of the loss of identity. And so that's what I was explaining to them, even when I did the demonstration. I said, we're no longer connected, and this is like a child. Creation is acting like a child, is having a temper tantrum. It is lost, is looking for its creator, is looking to connect again. And we have not, because we have not been the reflection or the express image of God in the earth like we should. We have been literally acting out of character because of our loss of identity.
And the loss of identity,
or should I say unaware of our identity.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to correct what you're saying. I'm looking at it more deeply in the sense that was there actually a loss of identity, or has there been a veil placed over uh, our seeing and our understanding? I remember there's a scripture that says that we we have we are alienated from the life of God because of ignorance. So there's a veil
Mhm.
that has overtaken us as human beings, as humanity, that has uh, hidden it, but at the same time, uh, it is still there. Like you said, the awareness is there, but it's like in other words, I put it like this. Okay, I can sit here right now and allow myself, if I actually deliberately do it, to just simply be aware, or I can choose to be aware of.
Mhm.
Okay, if I'm aware of, I'll be aware of you, me, my husband, everything in this room, this screen. I'm aware of all of those things, but I'm aware, but I'm aware of. So therefore, I have left that pure awareness
Mhm.
because I've entered into 1,000 things. And the Tao talks about 1,000 things. We get wrapped up in the 1,000 things and lose the pure awareness of what we are. That
Mhm.
makes sense. So it's not so much that it's gone. It's just that my attention is on the aware of. I'm aware of this. I'm aware of that. But I'm not aware, just aware.
Just aware, and so that's earlier when you was talking, and you was talking about squeezing into
Yeah. The
whatever.
divine intelligence shrinking itself down into the finite mind. Yes.
Right, and so that's what I was thinking about. What actually happens when the infinite does what you just said? When the infinite squeeze into the finite.
Well, that's what happened when I say I'm aware of, I've left
Hmm.
that awareness of that pure awareness of being, of just being. And
So,
so when I and the best way I can describe it, when I pull back out of the 1,000 things, I pull back out of it, I am then only aware, and it is then that I am I am what I am.
hmm, but no
And it's
words.
not it's not an effort,
Hmm.
but it requires a pulling away from or pulling out of, in attention, more than anything, mostly attention. What
So,
you
so
think,
you
David?
you would say that to help understand the difference between aware and aware of. So when you are, and it's hard trying to use words, when you're in the state of awareness, or aware, um, there is no thought.
And see, state awareness is not a state. That's the thing
See,
too.
that's why I said so hard to explain it with words where we aware. All
Yeah,
right.
look, the diacolin's helping us because I was just thinking about this. It's the space of no thing and everything all at once. Yes.
Exactly.
So if I'm aware of all of the things in this room and all of the things in front of my eyes, uh, then I've lost the awareness of being, the beingness of awareness,
Mhm.
and I've lost myself in those things. However, if I do what Diaconin is saying, pull my attention out of those things into just simply being aware, I can be aware of this room. I can be aware of this space where everything abides in it.
Mhm.
It's like God, remember the scripture said, in him we live, move, and have our being.
Exactly.
It's like we're aware of the living and the moving and all of that, but we're not aware of what we're in, what we're abiding in to do all of that. So
Mhm.
it's like this room this or the space in this room gives it the ability to be a room, gives the ability to show these things.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness is where everything shows up.
Right.
It allows things to be, and it's like the blank page that everything appears on.
Mm-hmm.
If the blank page wasn't there, there'd be no way for it to appear. So it's like God is the space that we're all in.
Which again does not require thought.
Right.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Because and the reason why I said that was because we all in the same vein. Like, for example, and I use this example again Sunday. When I get up in the morning, I have no thought about me being a male or being a man.
Right. Right.
No thought whatsoever, but I am. All right. You get what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about it. I'm not thinking
Yeah.
about being an African American,
Yeah.
even though sometimes I'm passed for something else. But anyway, but the example I was giving them was that when you are aware or aware of one, you're not taking thought concerning all these different,
It's your TV.
like you said, million, thousand different things or whatever. You're not thinking. I'm not thinking about being a man. I just am. I'm not thinking about being African American. I just am. You see what I'm saying? So it does not require any thought for me to try to be a male or a thought of trying to be. I just am.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe where the journey that we're on, or if there is a journey, is we're having a hard and difficult time because of the conditions that we all have been exposed to, that's causing us not to get to the place where we could wake up, and I don't even want to say the word, but we could wake up and say, I am. We the thought for the day, all the different, I mean, just like y'all said, the monkey mind, it just has a field day swinging from one thing to the next. Whereas if we get to that, and it's hard to describe again with words, that place of nothingness or where it requires no thought whatsoever. You just are. Well, God is not thinking about being God. And if God is not thinking about being God, we should be thinking about.
And you're right. And then so I remember in referring to what Rupert said about divine intelligence shrinking itself down into the finite mind. When God does communicate to the finite mind, the little me, I should say, the conditioned self, I can call it that. When God does communicate and shrink itself down into that finite mind, there is a interruption of the monkey mind thoughts, right? It's like that is the time that everything clears out.
Here's a parable. When I was a little boy, we used to go to my granddad's and grandmother's house out in the country. They lived out in a place where at the time there was no pipelines running water and sink. What they had was what make you feel funny when you do this. They had a well. And we would all say, well, let's go get a drink of water. We're going to get something special like a Pepsi Cola or a milkshake,
And they had dippers.
At
the well.
And so we went out, we go stand beside the well, and I wanted to see what was down in there.
And there's a bucket and a rope.
And they had to open that thing up, slide the wooden thing, top on it, and you look down there, you don't see anything. But when you let the bucket down in there, that's the finite self. That's the ego. It goes down on an ego rope and a monkey rope. And when it hits the bottom, it goes kaploosh. And that thing to when you little, that's a big, deep hole.
It is because my granddaddy had it wrapped. The rope was wrapped around a log with a
Yeah,
handle
yeah, with a wind
on
on
the
like I got
side.
my bulldozer.
Yeah, and when he let that down, he
Yeah.
would let it just go.
It just really, you get
Yeah.
ready to knock your chin
And
loose.
when it hit that water, whoosh,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then we go down in there and said, now, is it any snails in there?
it was.
And
fun.
it was. They
was.
get in there.
But
And
they
they go
were
down.
keeping it clean.
Yeah.
They were keeping it
But
clean.
in order to keep it clean, they had to let a bucket down in there. They would clean it clean. And if it come up inside the water, you got one or two things you do. You can either throw it out in the yard or put it back in the bucket and lay it down. But most of the time, what they do, when they bring the bucket up, you bring up consciousness, awareness comes up.
Mhm.
The finite self of the ego is the working to try to get what's in the well.
That's good. That's good analogy. Yes, like that.
And down in the water, you coming up, you don't know what you're gonna come up with. But whatever
Because you
comes,
don't know what's in the
but
depth of that
the
water.
imagination and the mind says water. But when you say water, the subconscious mind goes off into tasting water. Whenever and look, listen, this is the crazy thing about it. Sin would be anything in the water other than water.
That's good, Dad. I like that. That's good.
The finite self is already
Explain.
the finite self is already decided through
Yes,
its
that's good.
imagination that it's
Yeah.
going to be clean, fresh water, and it's got to taste different than the water we get in the city.
And it does.
But that's good, Dad, because that explains the Genesis narrative that when whatever the fruit was, when Eve and later Adam took it, whatever was in that fruit came up, just like you said, the water. You not just get the water, but you get everything else that comes with it. That's exactly what happened, and that was the yep. There
Right.
you go.
Yeah.
That's good, Dad.
Watch this. Here it is again. You have to be willing to take a chance on drinking that water, regardless of what it looked like when it comes up to the top. But the distance between the top and the bottom, where that water is removed when you wind the rope and bring the bucket up. When the bucket gets up there, if there's anything in it, you know what they do? They take the dipper, dip it, and pour it out, throw trash out, whatever. And some people like it, some don't. But some of them say, "Well, you got 4 or 5 people standing around there going to drink out the same dipper." That's the same Christ.
And if it's hot enough, and we were talking about this earlier, if it's hot enough, back in the day, I was talking about how my grandparents they didn't have any air conditioning, anything like that.
Nothing
All
like
they had was a hand fan, a towel,
Or
and
window
maybe
open.
or a window opener, some water, or watermelon, or whatever. But and so, if they're thirsty enough, they'll drink whatever come up out of that water.
Oh, tell me about it. And we did that. So we drank. But what was in the water when the first person took the first drink? His bubbly lip, juicy mouth, crazy tongue hit the water and drunk it, and everybody else would dip down in the bucket. What happened to the germs that was in the bucket in the dipper before and the water, the bucket before we drunk out of the dipper? Most people just take it, put the water back in that, throw it out in the yard, what they drunk, dip it down in the bucket. But the germs that are on the edge of the dipper is still there. If you're 5 people around and you want a good dipper, you're going to have 5 dippers. But but it was only one.
Only one dipper.
So let me ask you this question about that. You already got me going now. So, because I've never had that experience of drinking well water. I've never had that experience. All right.
Okay.
You ain't never drunk out no dipper.
So literally, what y'all are telling us, when y'all will dip the bucket down into the well and pull the water up, y'all drank it right then and there, or did you have to take it through what we would call a distilling process?
No, we drank it right there.
So now, Ma, you said something earlier that dealing with when we first started talking, you was talking about how hot it is or whatever. It just dawned on me, especially with Dad sharing what he shared when he said before. We said earlier dealing with the heat that we probably could not handle. We can't handle the heat right now. But those before us or primitive man
Mhm.
would be able to adjust and to adapt
You adapt.
and survive and thrive in these conditions.
Mhm.
With us, if we were put out there right now with no AC or whatever, we would have a major problem.
And it's because we've already experienced air conditioning.
So, are we as man losing our ability
Yes.
to adjust and
We
adapt
do.
to the
Yes.
outside environment?
Yes.
Now,
Yes. Yes.
this is what
Drink
Jesus
up.
meant when he spoke about given unto them to us to know the mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you stand around that well, the old folks done got so used to drinking out of the dipper, they just take the dipper or dip it down in the bucket, swish it around, throw it out in the yard, then the next one will come up. But what was in that dipper before you got into that bucket gets into the water in the bucket. And the next person gonna be drinking your stuff, they stuff, and 5 other people's other stuff.
Yeah.
What was in them gonna jump out of them and jump in the water through the dipper. But nobody is ready except for those who have finite minds. Go and say, give me a clean glass. Well, if you go in the house and get a clean glass, you're going to have to remember they don't have hot water out there unless they boil it on the stove. And when they boil it on the stove, it's hitting you now. It's hitting you now.
No, because
It's striking
we
you.
we are creating,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna
Yeah.
say this: we're creating our own hell.
Remember, the water
Yes.
was not created by hands, it was already there.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that means, because see, I'm thinking about something Mom said years ago. We're not being unsensitive to and unsympathetic to individuals that deal with cancer or whatever. But I remember Mom saying one time about we have what we would call breast cancer awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay,
So
Mm-hmm.
what?
okay.
So whatever we like, Dad is saying, you would drink that water and you would have no thought of the contaminants or
Ooh, and it make
anything.
you feel funny.
You would be fine, no sickness,
Yeah.
whatever. But now when you start operating from, like you say, flick the switch from the finite mind,
Uh-huh.
it's making you imagine certain things,
Yeah.
then you have just created that scenario that became out of your imagination, became your reality.
And we say, ain't that some good water?
That's why the Indian, when he prayed, he didn't pray with his mouth. It was what he envisioned, not so much envisioned. It's like I used to think that they were imagining it in a picture, having a picture of it, but it wasn't that. They would put themselves consciously in it. It's not so much I'm going to think of it. He put himself in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
He in other words, if I were praying I wanted to move to New York, I wouldn't be trying to envision New York, but I would lay down in my bed, and in my bed I would be in New York. I would be there.
Mm-hmm.
I would smell the smells, hear the sounds, use every one of my interfaced five senses to experience it. And so the Indian experienced the rain. He didn't pray for it to come. He experienced the rain before it showed up in the physical. So we've lost the art of prayer, where we can experience a thing before we see it in the physical.
Mom, you just don't know what you just did. I'm popping right now because that is something that I said on Sunday. Using James 5 and using a lot. Because remember, Elijah experienced the rain before the manifestation. He heard the sound
Mm-hmm.
of an abundance of rain. He was
Mm-hmm.
aware of it
Mm-hmm.
before it
Mm-hmm.
actually manifested.
Mm-hmm.
Now here it is. We go to a car lot. We look at the car. I like this. The salesman come out. You want to test drive it?
Yep. He makes you experience it.
What you see,
It's
the
good.
mysteries of it is gonna come out because you're gonna drive and you say,
Mhm.
"Ooh, I like that. I don't like that color, but I like that car."
Mhm.
Find out mine's still working, ain't it?
Yeah.
But the car been sitting there all the time. I ain't doing nothing to nobody.
Yeah.
Now I understand that part because of what I majored in college, marketing. And that's something that we're taught in as being a
You
salesman.
gonna sell me some well water.
You always you always get someone to test drive. And
Yes.
Sell me some well water.
it's because of that experience
Mhm.
they make an impulsive
Mhm.
decision to buy the car.
Well,
All
I
be-
remember. Yeah,
all
you're
because of
right.
the
You're right.
experience.
But I remember when we had a whole bunch of money. Okay, we could just go on a lot and kind of choose which one we wanted. So I remember we went to, I think it was a Volvo at the time.
Yeah.
The man said, "Go ahead and test drive it." And so we said, "Well, we don't really have time." He said, "Keep it overnight."
That's what it said.
Yes, yes.
And it got to the place, Pastor, where when you wanted a car, you could look and see a picture and say, "I want this car," and they'll drive it out to your door, bring it to your door, you sign the papers, and just paid. You paid it off, or you whatever you
We never
transition.
paid a down payment.
No,
back
never
in the
had
day.
to. After we got to a certain place.
But the trick for the salesman, it wasn't a trick so much. He provided an experience. So
Exactly.
if we can in our prayer life experience that we want, or experience that is desired, and that is needed, experience it before we see it, and use the interfaced five senses, because your five senses are interfaced with the spiritual senses that you have. Use it. Don't just visualize something, but see it, feel it, hear it, smell it, taste it, experience it.
I want to throw a towel.
Hey, listen to this
right now. Y'all have no idea what I'm doing a study on right now.
Yeah, and here's the deal: when you wake up, you find out that you had your bloomers on backwards.
Oh,
and you say, "I wouldn't know where it felt just like they was all right," until you look at the tag back there and you say, "Oh, I need to turn them around the other way," and they felt different, but you didn't pay no attention to it until your awareness or your sense world said, "Something don't feel right in my bottom. I can't get lined up here,"
Yeah.
And it's like the other morning I got up, I pulled my pants up and everything, got my clothes on, ready to go walk the dog.
You did. I got to tell you.
So
I got to tell y'all what he did.
She's going crazy now. See, yeah.
I got to tell it. I got to tell it. So how about baby? He's trying to not have his mouth open when he sleeps because his mouth gets dry, right? So he's got these little strips you put on your mouth to keep your mouth shut. So yesterday morning, he got up. We were talking, and he said, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that motor running last night?" I said, "What motor?" I said, "When?" He said, "The thing was running in the house all night."
It's going
I said, "No, like that." And so then I said, "Well, wait a minute." There was a moment when I heard that little piece of thing that he had on his mouth flapping, and it sounded like when we used to take those cards and put them on the spokes of the bicycle wheel. So it was him. He was the motor.
So I went back to sleep, and I said, and I heard it again. And I say, "Where's that sound coming from?" And
I remember raising up in the bed and looking like, "What is it?" And I realized it was you. I just laid back down.
But he was hearing himself.
I was hearing himself.
And see, with the CPAP machine, you put that over your mouth to keep from breathing out your mouth. which would in turn make your mouth dry and all that stuff.
Oh my God.
I put mine back, but it came loose.
That motor was running. It was running.
It's gonna pop, 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 pop. I
I
said,
had to tell y'all that.
it's something broke. But once you
Oh,
wake
my
up,
God.
now watch it. Jesus said he gave them power to cast out unclean spirits and all that. This is what the book said. But in actuality, the mystical translation of deliverance and cast out is that as you go further into the truth of the water that was in the well is now in you and is now assimilated into being you, you automatically operate in discernment because you can tell when your imagination is so strong, whatever it is that comes up out of that water, everybody around the world say, man, this is good water. Like you go to the moonshine house, they say, man, this is good liquor, you know. But it's the same liquor that somebody else had. But now wait a minute, it's still liquor. Sometimes they bring it and they don't mix it right. It be stronger or it tastes like water with something in it. But it's sneaky liquor when you taste it, it's good because it'll sneak up on your consciousness and make you feel like this is the best liquor I ever drunk at this liquor house. But it ain't no different. It's just the ideal of your awareness, or you are ready to understand the mystery, and it's spontaneous. Now watch the mysteries. If everybody in the brick and mortar and in, you know, a guy said to me that last week, Tuesday night is his Bible study. And he told me right here in the neighborhood, he said, I'm not jumping the subject, just add something to it. He said, we have Bible study. Now, when you come, we don't do nothing but use the Bible. That's all we use. You don't want no stuff. We just read the Bible and say, we are now in the book of Luke. We are now in the book, the Old Testament, and we going to study every book. That's the monkey mind or the ego in separation. If they understood the mystical side of the water in you and out of you, they would understand that everything that they read about Christ consciousness or the Christ Jesus in the book or any book is him. You are that. That's where thatness and awareness of being that wakes up into the world of the senses and see Christ in everything you do. Now, that is a big pill to swallow. Now, some people standing at the well, they don't throw, they rinsed it out and throw it out. They just, whatever the next person got in them, they just drink it.
Well, see, you made me think about this area and not too far from us called Blackville, where they have this water. They actually place like a speaker or whatever in I guess that's a spring or river, whatever, but it's supposed to have these healing components that people come from everywhere.
Yeah, we used to go to them in the mountains.
Yeah, right there in Blackville.
Springs up there.
That's probably, I don't think it's quite an hour from us, but people go there, take their jugs and fill it up.
I've never seen so many plastic jugs. Yeah.
And so forth. But
and bring it home in buckets.
Oh, there's some stores that actually they bottle it up and people can come get it right from down the street at the store.
Green water.
But the reason why I said I could throw my top because I'm doing this study on the creative self, and so a lot of what we just discussed is revealing to us that a lot of the manifestations that are happening, we want to ascribe it to something or someone else, but it's actually we are the creator of it. That's why I said earlier, a lot of the sufferings that we go through, I made a statement that many of us, we create our own hell. And so, Dad, you mentioned about the imagination, which is a divine tool that is used to create. Most of anything that in this realm dimension, anything physical was created from something unseen.
This is the thing, Pastor Norman. We are of the misconception that we create by thinking. And it is not by thinking that we create. It's by the feelings that we have. remember Job said, the thing I greatly feared has come upon me.
Exactly.
So it works with the emotions. And so very few times have we desired something and actually enter into the feeling of having it. We try to visualize it. We petition God for it, asking for it. We try to believe by speaking it into existence, but that doesn't get it. So until a person begins to actually have the experience, and that's what we were talking about. Job was experiencing in his subconscious and in his psyche the things that he was afraid of. He was those things were going around over and over, rolling
thing that I
around
fear the most is coming
inside of him. It was rolling around inside of him, and his mind was predicting what was going to happen. And all of these things were taking place inside of him, and it happened because he was creating that then. He was creating it not knowing he was creating it.
Exactly.
So that if I say don't think of a pink elephant, the first thing you're gonna do is think of one.
Oh, you said it.
So it's like the law of reverse. It's the law of reverse. You can't think of the thing and get it, because then when you're thinking of the thing, that's thinking of it is trying to make it happen when it's already there. So it has to go into the actual. Dad called it. He has to pass the guard over the subconscious.
There's a guard over the left and right brain, and it's that bridge between Indiana Jones' Last Crusade. Across that bridge from the feet he hit, the hurdles he had to go through.
Yeah, when he was going after the Grail, Holy Grail.
The Grail, yeah. But he had to go across this bridge that couldn't nobody see. And the only way they could find it is throw sand out there. And when they throw the sand, the bridge appeared. But it was there all the time, but they just couldn't see it with the finite mind.
So Dad taught us on McConnell Road. You might remember because you were still there, I think. How he called the guard Fred. Fred stands over the subconscious, door of the subconscious. And the only way to get past Fred is with feeling.
Yeah.
The only way the subconscious can receive what it is that wants to be experienced, it has to have the feeling. Feeling is the only thing that can slip past Fred.
I'm gonna jump on something Mom said, but I'm gonna make you laugh when you just mentioned about McConnell Road. I just found all these tapes, cassette tape of messages that Bishop picked. Yesterday, just ran across a box that I have full of. I said, these are the tapes from Cornerstone.
Yeah, that's something. So if I want a certain thing to happen, and this is not it's not a perfect science. I can't say I'm an expert at it. But if I wanted to experience something, I would have to first deal with what my mind is predicting won't happen. And begin to leave that and enter into the feeling of actually having that happen.
Because
the definition.
There's something earlier about the pink. If you say
pink elephant,
don't think about the pink elephant.
The first thing you do.
Well, see, that's the thing that I understand about sin consciousness. When if you talk about it so much, that's what people become conscious of. Your intentions is to prevent them from it. But the more you talk about it, that is what manifests, and that's what they start thinking about, and they start acting out the thought.
Yes, because you're throwing it out there in the ethers in order for it to manifest.
Now, Miss Sylvia, it is so good to see your name and your face there. We hadn't heard from you, seen you in a long time, but it's great to see you. Now listen to this. The thief and the robber is defined in religion and some Christianity. No fighting against it. That the thief and the robber is Satan and demons. But the thief and the robber is the finite mind, the ego, the sense world, giving off the idea that the thief and the robber is a demon or Satan. we translated, when I found out the true meaning of Lucifer and Satan was what Peter did with when Jesus asked him, who do men say that I, the Son of Man, is, and all that. What was going on was that Peter began to talk from his essence or the eternal self. This was way before Pentecost, because we were taught from the beginning Pentecost hadn't come, so the Spirit of God wasn't in nobody.
That's what we taught.
That's what we taught.
That's what we
and
were
we
taught.
We taught out of a bucket with a hole in it.
Yeah, we were taught.
That water come. That bucket had a hole in it, and it wouldn't hold no water. Now waking up is finding out we've been trying our best to keep that bucket full, called being filled with the Spirit, praying, sing, knock, and doing everything and quoting everything, going to every meeting, everything, trying to get that. I ain't gonna miss this prayer meeting. I ain't gonna miss that. The bucket got a hole in it, and we're trying to keep that bucket full. Pretty soon, when you wake up, you're gonna find out that the bucket done rusted out, and the hole done got so big, but it ain't even no bottom in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're finding out. Well, didn't people say, well, he done backslid because his bucket his bucket had a big hole in it, wouldn't hold Christ, wouldn't hold the water. And besides, he done got tired of trying to patch it up and put tape over it. And so now he done backslid, don't even come to church no more. We don't see it. I don't know what happened to him. Then later on, you see him, well, what he done happened when he come back. He said, I repent from operating with a bucket with a hole in it, went to the hardware store and got a brand new bucket, which is the Holy Ghost, got a brand new bucket and returned unto the Lord. And now he's back where he was before he lost his bucket. I found out it had a hole in it.
You know what you're talking about.
Yes, I do. I'm giving you pearls.
I'm thinking about right now. Tomorrow I'm gonna go to Lowe's and buy me a bucket.
Oh my God!
I used to ask my son, I said, son, if you had a bucket of water, what would you do with it? He said, I'd kick it. I said, you mean gonna kick the bucket?
Look, I gotta show this, John. I gotta mess with John a little bit. He typed in. This is when we talk about Daniel and all. He said that's what Daniel did before going into the dentist of lions.
The
Then he said, den of lions. AI is great, bah humbug. Well, you know, so what's so interesting, John, about Daniel in the lion's den? Daniel was in there, and God made the lions fast with Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they didn't eat him.
They're hungry.
They didn't eat him because God put them on a fast.
Ain't that something?
So going back again to the divine intelligence shrinking itself down into the finite mind to bring consolation or to provide wisdom where we need it, and to bring intervention into certain matters, and even to bring into us the methodology of how to create, because we don't really know how to. We don't do that with the monkey mind.
Now watch this.
There's not one of us as a person with a monkey mind that can create anything.
Somehow or another, they found out how to take the finite mind and use the insight of the spirit realm to create a Benadryl, a tablet for allergies. When you go to the store to buy one, or to the drugstore to get a pill, you're getting what's inside the earth and what is inside that cannot be seen with the eyes. Scientists have found out how to get the stuff together in the finite world from the spirit realm.
And scientists didn't do it with their monkey minds.
No, they did not.
That was the divine intelligence shrinking itself down, bringing that to light in their infinite minds. Mm-hmm. So it's beyond the mind. So creation is beyond the mind.
And notice, you don't even have to use belief
to create.
When you take it, you don't have to use belief, because you use it by hearing, conversation, advertisement, people talking about. Go to the store and get you. Long time ago, they didn't have all this fancy stuff out. So when you get a cold, first thing mom would say, he saw something on television called Dristan. We had Dristan to fight anything. Dristan, alcohol, and turpentine. Rub turpentine on your navel at night, and you won't wake up with your chewing gum hanging out the side of your mouth. You know, when you go to bed with bubble gum, it's amazing how that stuff come out of your mouth and get stuck up in your hair. It crawls out of your lip. It crawled up your head and get stuck right in the front, right in the front of your hair. How did that thing get up there like that? I had hair, but it was had some of a bump in it. And I looked up, and sometime before you can get it out, you had to cut it out. The chewing gum, bubble
You
gum,
must
get
have
in your
got a
mouth.
whole lot of bubble gum on your head.
You gotta be still. You know that. Be still over there. Be quiet, girl. You don't know what you're talking
They
about.
cut it all out.
Now that's why I'm bald now. All that bubble
Listen,
gum. You better leave me
I
alone.
got to address what Jacqueline asked, which is a very valid question, and I can't say that I have all the pat answers, Jacqueline, but I do know this. She said, "How do you connect or feel what you've never experienced before?"
Oh, here's the clue.
Yeah.
Here's the clue.
Mm-hmm.
Your superconscious, subconscious is right there in you, and that is the black box in the airplane and the train that records everything.
It's everything.
In that subconscious, superconscious
It's
mind
holding all the data.
is the Hall of Records, the Akashic Records, and every evolution that's ever been evoluted, all the way from what we call the beginning and end. If you want to know the true scripture, go into the inner consciousness of your super self.
Now you're telling them to do it, but
I'm just saying it's something you do, but you don't
Exactly.
have to do it. It's there. I'm just giving you the finite 1, 2, 3 steps. But at the same time, this is what we're operating out of. That's why Jesus said at the time that you get ready to say something, take no thought. You know what he's saying? Lay this thing to the curve of losing, getting, finding, and seeking. Because if you've really settled the dust, you're going to find out the definition of beingness is the Christ consciousness.
And so with that being said, from the place of beingness or aware, is there a need to connect
For some, it might be.
when you are aware?
no.
That's what
When you're absolutely purely aware.
If when you fully, what they call,
Then there's the desire to try to connect is gone.
exactly.
It's like you said, it's hard to put things in words with the finite mind.
tell them about your mother and Alzheimer's, what happened to her when she was cleared before she left.
What about it?
Yeah, you tell them what you found out being with her before she crossed over, left her body. Her mind was clear. Alzheimer's cleared her mind out.
Yeah. Now and see, so when and I'll say that I'm dealing with what Jacqueline is asking because that's a very valid question. But at the same time, that part that's asking the question is the one that's trying to be the creator.
Exactly.
And so the creator already knows the answer to that question. The creator is that is not asking the question, and it's not a put down, Jacqueline. It just means that the egocentric mind wants to know how to do all of this stuff.
But the aha moment is, oh, I see it.
When the divine intelligence shrinks itself down into the finite mind, that's how you do
the man at the gate that's holding back information from coming through. That's when I studied into the left brain and right brain and my research into why some people have good grades in school and some don't, or why some people can work in these big stores and remember the prices of everything. She do it. I studied her ability to recall. Some people, man at the gate is blocked, and others, the man at the gate is gone
for certain things.
Now we're coming back to this thing of understanding the superconscious or the supermind. Awareness is, I know where the Christ is now. He's no longer coming and going. He is us.
So exactly. It's all about moving from the position of rest. And that's where, I want to make sure nobody gets the impression, okay, I know how to do this. I can go out and create what I want. See, that's the egocentric mind. That's the egocentric mind. And it is not the creator. It is not the creator. Most of us have had the misconception that we create by thinking, and that is not true.
Oh, but now watch this. Watch this. As you travel through the dimensions, and I say this in the finite self, as you travel through the dimension, you're going to run into a place over there through your infinite self, out of the body or in the body. But we know a man, like Paul said, whether in the body out. You will find out that there is a world. Now, I'm saying this, I know this by experience. There's a world where all these movies that we see on television exist.
Yeah, it comes from there.
Yes.
And not only that, but every manuscript,
in that dimension,
everything comes from a certain place.
Especially Marvel Universe.
Yeah, watch this. This is the reason I had it on the tip of my tongue. This is the reason why Jesus, the Christ said, the kingdom of God is in you. Mm-hmm. What involves a kingdom is everything. Mm-hmm. It's no longer the kingdom of God because I am saved. I go to the church and I get redeemed and dipped and flipped and come back. And now I'm a preacher, and now I'm an evangelist, pastor, or teacher. Now I know I'm coming against some heavy stuff in the conditioned self, but if you go into this thing real strong, you'll find out that a lot of the things they put in the Bible about the 12 apostles and 12 disciples and all this positionalities is created from the ego finite mind to give somebody something of a positionality or something to do or papers or believe in position. I am a pastor. I'm there. But now I find out me and her then started back over again. Ain't none of that existed no more.
They're on a journey of
being
obtaining things that make them feel special.
Yeah. They try that part of us that is the
well, you mentioned it before, Pastor Norman. You're trying to build an image.
Yeah, you have to. If you're going to work with people like you do and like I did and the others do, you're going to have to break it down.
You have to make concessions for it. And that's what I was saying.
That's what I mean. That's a good word, concession.
God does not expect everybody to be able to be a spiritual teacher and open it up in the mysteries and everything. He makes concession for those who have to have parables.
Watch this. You're sitting in the theater. You're watching a good movie. When you walked in the theater, you didn't get what you wanted at the concession stand. Concessions. Okay. You said that concession word. Yeah. I like that word. And we sitting there and you say, I used to love to go to the Lincoln Theater and get in there, and I didn't take but 20 cents, 15 cents to get in the theater and 10 cents or 20 cents to ride the bus, and the bus let you off right in front of the theater. You go in there, and the first thing you say, you're sitting there watching the movie, you say, I think I want me some hot dog and some popcorn and a drink. And you with 4 or 5 people, somebody go get the stuff and bring it to you. But you had to interrupt your movie time, the fantasy of what's on the screen.
But see, the concession stand and getting those things from the concession stand makes the movie more enjoyable.
There you go. See.
But not only that, but again, coming from a marketing background, of course, remembering theaters, oftentimes for most people, they go into the theater first, sit down, watch all the different, and then all of a sudden the subliminal messages is now being introduced to you. Now you get up and you go to the concession stand and get the Coca-Cola or whatever you get, all because of the subliminal message.
So if you look at the fact that divine intelligence makes concession for the little me, then what is God's intent is to make this life more enjoyable.
Exactly.
For all of us.
The abundant life.
What? Yeah, I agree with when we back to talk about the bucket got a hole in it.
Yeah,
Jump get a plastic bucket.
I saw John. I'll tell you.
You don't want to get a plastic bucket because they don't last. They don't last.
Yeah, plastic bucket back there that time, John.
John.
Hey, when we walking on up there on Pilot Mountain, we walk down the side, one side of the mountain, and we run across a spring.
Mhm.
And that thing was springing too. It had plenty of water in it, but in order to get the water, you got to move the leaves back out of it. And the only way you get it is get down on one knee or a knee and take your hand and scoop it up there, scoop it up there. And I said, well, sir, it's a funny feeling putting your face down to the dirt and the ground and drinking water. That's a funny feeling, ain't it?
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. What you feel like?
I love what I love that what she put up there. I
Like
love
it says, roles are necessary
Yeah, that's good.
for the play of life,
I'm
but
telling you,
they are not who we are.
I'm
Thank
telling
you,
you,
sweetheart.
you're
That's the
right.
truth. That is so true. So
These-
going back to, and I know our time, we've been on here a while, but going back to something you said, Pastor Norman, in the very beginning, we have, as human race, lost our ability to adjust and adapt. And it's because we have we've allowed ourselves to be exposed, and we have been exposed and experienced different ways, and so now we don't know how to adjust and adapt. So it could be that a lot of the things that we're experiencing now is putting us back in that role, in that place of having to adjust and adapt.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly, because I mean, think about it when you mentioned about the times before we didn't have a lot of the things that we have now. I mean, again, with the cell phone, hey, we didn't have no cell phone back then. We couldn't take nothing with us, no computer, no nothing, and we were fine.
Yeah.
Now, if you leave the house and you leave your phone, you about to have a fit because you left your phone at home. You're willing to be late for work to go back and get it, and we didn't have those challenges back then. Life was so much simpler. And so as we are supposedly evolving, we're losing ability to adjust and adapt. So again, if say the power grid do go out.
Yeah. Here's something.
What then?
Yeah.
What then?
Yeah.
What then? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I made, and for you guys, we don't have any pictures of it, but I got a 12-wheel trike. I got 6 wheels on the back and 6 in the front. I mean, 6, 3 and 3 is 6. I got 3 6s of wheels on my trike, and it's a folding trike.
3 6s. That's the medicine.
Yeah, I got 6 on 3 and 3 is 6 on the back, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the front. Now here we go. 3 and 3 is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wheels all together. What I'm trying to say. I done worked on every seat that I can get. Order seat, wide seat, little bitty seat. And I done lost weight from 286 all the way down, over 100 and some pounds. So now when I sit on that seat, I ain't got no cushion. The bones in my butt is just cutting through that seat like a razor, you know. And I have to stand up once in a while and switch butts.
Switch butt cheeks. And you just try to get somebody to laugh. Go ahead.
All right, I'm just telling you what happened. And so I go out and ride that thing, and I see when you this is my parable of this. It sounds funny, like I'm trying, but when Jesus walked on water, you think it's crazy now.
Yeah.
When he walked on water, he didn't have no extra weight to make him sink like Peter did. Peter had all this conditioned self out on the water, and the only way he could stay on top of that water and walk is to keep his focus on Jesus, the Christ, in front of him. But he stopped being Christ when he starts sinking. The weight on that bike is, I'm feeling the bones because I ain't got no pad in my butt, and it's gone. So now I have to let go of some more weight so that cushion with that seat would satisfy me, because that is the weight of what we call sin, is the weight of the excess conditions that has been heavy on us from coming into this dimension. And we've been walking around overweight with the care and the worry and the frustration the animosity, the hate, and unforgiveness. The true way of getting out of this bad seat thing is to let go of the past. Now, you can't do that by us teaching you this. This is something that is a personal thing between spirit identity and consciousness. And that's the parable of what I'm saying about the bicycle. You riding on something that you think is real, but it's not real. It's not there. It's an illusion.
On this week, and I showed you guys my nephew had been in the hospital and he's out now. He had pneumonia, and Russell has had from the time he was a little kid different major illnesses that come up in his lifetime, and so it makes us a little quick to think something bad is going to happen, like history is going to repeat itself. We've almost lost him many times, and so the Lord has been gracious and merciful to us to allow him to continue, and he's doing okay. But on the way to the hospital the other day, I was dealing with, going back to what Diaquin asked, I was dealing with the fact that my mind already had predicted that certain things were going to take place because it had happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
He had just before COVID was announced to all of us, he had something that I think was COVID at that time, and almost died. He was in ICU about 5 days. And the doctors didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was, but it affected his lungs. And he went through a severe operation to scrape his lungs. And so when he got pneumonia this time, all of a sudden my mind began to predict, oh gosh, he's going to have to go through this whole thing again. And is he going to make it? And all of this. And then the feeling, Diaquin, the feeling that he was going to not get through this, the fear of him not getting through this was really, really strong inside of me. And I knew I couldn't take that in the room where he was. I couldn't take that energy in the room where he was. So on the way there, I just began to ask. I said, okay, Lord, how do I get past this feeling? How do I get past this feeling? And the Lord began to explain to me. He said, there is no way to snuff a feeling out once it started.
Wow.
But he said that what I could do is to begin acting as if. And so what he said was act as if he's going to come out. Act as if he's going to be fine. Act as if. So I began to act as if. So I went into his room. We began to have so much fun and joke and play and all of that, and he is fine. So I'm saying that to say this, that there is no way, once a feeling gets snowballed, there is no way to shut it down. No way to shut it down. And the only thing we can do, practically do, is to act as if that the mind is saying is and predicting is not going to happen.
Now that's
and I rest my case.
That's powerful. And even in your statements, I guess that's what I could have entitled the message on Sunday. Like I said, because I just flowed with it. I could have used the topic, what if? And I had made reference to I don't know if y'all familiar with the on the Disney Channel, the Marvel Universe, they have this animated cartoon entitled What If?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
if Hulk was
Yeah.
Captain America. It deals with parallel universes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So and so, and that's what I was dealing with on Sunday, because what if, and I was dealing with Abraham in Genesis, when God was supposed to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and he said, what if I could find 50 righteous?
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And then, of course, the numbers begin to decrease. What if I could find, 40? What if I could find 30? What
Mhm.
if?
Mhm.
And so I was presenting this thought to the congregation with all the things that's happening. What if all at once? What if? Because again, we are instructed to pray or to intercede about certain things, but according to what is written, these things has to happen. So
Yeah.
what would be the reasoning or the purpose for us praying? Are we praying to manipulate an event from happening or not happening? And so I was throwing all of this out there, and so that's how I ended up with Abraham. What if he was able to find? What if? You know what I'm saying? I presented another scenario to them because the Lord agreed with him in the negotiation. If you do it, then I will not destroy.
Right. Right.
We find Jonah. We know the story of Jonah. His assignment was to go to Nineveh and prophesy against Nineveh because of their wickedness. Of course, we know he tried to escape his assignment. We know the situation, him going down in the boat caused all of the trouble on the boat. They had to throw him overboard, in the fish, man, all these different things. And then he gets to Nineveh. He prophesies to the king and to tell him God is going to destroy you all. He goes up the hill, sits up under the juniper tree, waiting
For it to happen.
for the destruction of Nineveh, only for Nineveh not to be destroyed because the people actually repented.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So now he's angry.
That's religion.
Yeah.
You see the point I'm making.
But Pastor Norman, and that this whole thing, we're seeing a lot of this now, and I know some of you may not know this, but in the church circle, you're seeing so many people talking about this false prophet, that false prophet.
Exactly.
And you fight like wild beasts.
Jonah would be the classical false
Exactly.
prophet.
But see, that's why I gave them.
It wasn't because Jonah was wrong. It wasn't because he prophesied and there wasn't God. It's because they repented.
And that was what I was presenting to them. All these different scenarios where here it worked, here it did not work. You see what I'm saying? And so, because the question is being asked, of course, of all that's happening, and I want to get beyond the church and the Christianity. This is a universal thing. What do we do now?
Yes.
That's the big question that's happening right now. What do we do? And so I had to make the statement. It is sad that we are putting more weight and value on our political affiliations rather than the weight and value of who and what we are.
Yeah.
Because I'm neither of those political whatever.
I didn't choose a side.
Exactly. And if we could get beyond, because I see where they're so connected to their affiliation rather than, and I have to use for the sake of understanding, they're so connected to their affiliation rather than doing what's right and beneficial for the whole.
Yes.
And that is where all of this unrest and everything is coming from, because we so, according to Maslow hierarchy of needs, everyone has this need to belong to something. And that goes back to that connection, which is actually not a real connection at all.
Right. So I think we are there. I think a lot of us are learning some hard lessons right now. Some hard lessons. And that's why there's actually, we're seeing some backtracking, because they know that what they were attempting to do isn't working. It is not working.
I'm going to say something here from the book of Daniel. When Daniel was founded and placed in position he was in before King Nebuchadnezzar used him, and Daniel was his seer. Metaphor again. Go over into that again and look. When Daniel got so far in, the king wanted to wipe him out and put him in the lion's den and all that kind of stuff for testing and all that. If God is, then the fiery furnace and 3 appeared in there, fiery furnace. But in the end, there was a place in there where Nebuchadnezzar lost his mind
That's true.
Mhm.
and was crawling around on his knees like a beast.
Yes.
And he was killing, murdering like all the kings and the priests of the land. Every positionality of the country's government is like King Nebuchadnezzar, Ahab, and all them other ones, all them big people in the Bible. But in the end, there was a mystery behind him because God called them his servant. Now let's go into the mystery about our government and what's going on now. Nobody's going to really unravel this thing about why the nation is going into such strong separation and fighting people, killing. Like, for instance, Israel is chosen people of God, but yet they're the meanest people in the United States, killing Iranians and Ruranis and their mamas and everybody, killing babies and children with war, shooting over hospitals, blasting, blowing up medical centers, everything. Don't give a hoot the rooter tooter about life. And yet they say that God's chosen people. Now, is that telling me that there's a side that we haven't conquered yet in the deep mysteries of who we really are? Got a place in the Bible where it said when in the old tent days that A.A. Allen and the Gospels traveling evangelists used to preach it all the time. God is a killer. And he would preach that, and we'd preach that God is going to kill you. I used to tell my uncle that. I said, God don't like ugly. And he was ugly too. And he said, we said, God gonna get you. I was a little boy.
Mr. Brown, Edna said something, and she said, God don't like ugly. He said, well, you better get you some asbestos because you gonna bust that wide open.
Hey, put on your asbestos underwear, because when the flamethrower come around, it's gonna burn your drawers off, and you inside of them too.
Well, listen, now we way over.
But the thing of it is that there is a day that will come when Nebuchadnezzar again in this position over the nations and countries, like it was then. Herod and Pilate was that way with Jesus. They mishandled him. He said, if you've done it unto the least of them, you've done it unto me. I'll drop my subject right there.
Yes, thank you. Because John Greason already said hit the like button. So we're going to take off here. We're going to take
the
off.
Flamethrower.
We're going to take off here. We've been running our mouth for almost an hour and a half now.
I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed it. Miss
Insightful.
Very insightful. Very insightful.
Miss Sylvia, come back on there. And we see some of the folks we hadn't talked to in a long time.
So anywho, we're gonna go, and we're glad that you spent the time with us. I hope you hung in there with us until the end, because I know we took a lot of side excursions there, but we enjoy our conversation with Pastor Norman. Pastor Norman, thank you again for
Thank
being
you.
with us. Yeah, always a good conversation. Always a great conversation. We will be back on Sunday.
Live and in color.
Long as nothing happens, so we're gonna be right back
the
here.
Creek don't rise.
And Pastor Norman will be back at 9 on his live broadcast. So if you can catch him on Facebook, that'd be wonderful. And you can catch us right after.
We done found out how to kill a rock record train and dare a piece of iron to catch rheumatism.
And Jacqueline, thank you, sweetheart. She said she enjoyed it. And thank you, Sissy. And we're gonna take off here.
Who was that, baby?
What?
You just had somebody with glasses on.
That was the Aquilin.
No, it wasn't. It was somebody else on there.
That was the Aquilin.
I know the Aquilin got glasses, but it was somebody else on that had glasses on.
My
That right there. Oh, that thing was over here yesterday.
Yes.
That thing was over here and stayed all night.
No, that was Sunday.
That was Sunday. Stayed all night.
He stayed Saturday night and left Sunday.
She had like she owned this place, coming over here and go to bed. Huh? Really? Well, then go pay the light bill and water bill.
Pastor, don't pay him no mind. We love you. Anyway, we're gone, guys, because we'll keep you all night. So we're gonna go. Bye. We'll see you later.
See you on the turnaround, John J.